Joining us to talk AI, Reddit, and much more, Joe Lonsdale, 8VC founding partner and Palantir co-founder. Where do you want to start? You want to start TikTok? You want to start? I mean, the whole situation we saw with AI. I worry about AI for a lot of reasons, but a woke AI that's infected with the woke mind virus. How can we prevent? Isn't it inevitable that one of the AI sites is going to be that way just from who's putting in the garbage in, garbage out?
The Apple news is a little bit funny. A lot of us looked at Gemini and said, what in tarnation? And Apple said, we have to have that. It's a little bit ridiculous. Now, that said,
I wondered about that, though, because it also said they were in negotiations with OpenAI. They could just be negotiating with everybody right now.
They probably are. And listen, Google does have a very strong AI team and all these things. So the Reddit IPO is the big news right now. Reddit is very similar to these other companies. Reddit has some really helpful parts if you're a nerd trying to learn physics. If you're doing like hard technical things, there's really good things on Reddit. And yet you saw the big risk in their IPO is that they have people basically moderating everything by hand. And these people, part of their compensation, because they're not paid, so their compensation is that they get to be ideological. And so they have this very ideological workforce, which is going to teach the AI to be woke as well. So
Workforce.
I mean, volunteers working for free. And part of the reason they can work for free is they get to impose their ideology, right? So it's a very funny culture you got in the tech company, in all these tech companies.
So we have that ideology, which I want no part of, and then we got the CCP ideology, which do you think is a real threat?
I think it's frankly a bigger threat. I think it's frankly a bigger threat. I mean, obviously the competence in the U.S. is a big deal, and we have to make U.S. competent and overcome that. But I think China is very scary. I think giving them access, as the AI gets better, giving them access to 100 million of our people over TikTok is insane. And, this is not a ban we're talking about. This is talking about not letting CCP own this. It's not allowed to own the New York Times. It's not allowed, to own, Rupert Murdoch had to become a U.S. citizen.
CCP doesn't own the New York Times now? They come up with all that stuff on their own?
I'm not a huge fan there. But I think this is just how the world works. You can't give your adversary. I think you have a crazy dictator in charge there.
This, I think, is pretty important because we get wrapped up in the stuff where we're shooting at ourselves with these things. That's very different when you're talking about the CCP or you're talking about Putin. Those are actual threats to our democracy. But when you have 100 million Americans or 170 million Americans saying, I want my MTV, I want my TikTok, what happens? Because I see this slowing down in the Senate already. And senators saying, yeah, we're glad that the House voted for it, but we're not going to do that. What happens? How does this play out?
I think there are some concerns by putting out, like David Sachs, Elon Musk, others on the right are saying we want to make sure this is not giving the president the power to go after any platform they want. And, my reading of the bill is actually that CFIUS powers are already a superset of these things for that. Sure. And so I actually don't think this bill creates that. But I think they should be very clear the bill does not create extra power for someone to go after Elon Musk or to go after, frankly, Meta. But they need to go after CCP and TikTok and fix it. And I think this is your duty as an American, and it's really important that they do this.
You think the senators will withstand that, though? We talked about how some House members were getting 20 calls a minute when TikTok put up to say, contact your representative to say you want to keep us. I
mean, and that's why they responded 50-0 against TikTok, because they saw how powerful that was for the CCP. I think any senator that's pro-America and that's doing their duty is gonna fix this, and is gonna take TikTok away from the CCP.
You think X is more essential than ever at this point? I've been starting to come around to that conclusion.
You need one place that's not ideologically censored that way, right? And so it's. I mean, listen. There's all these sites are important.
Are you shocked at some of the stuff you see on mainstream media that they have definitely abdicated their responsibility for trying to represent both sides because they think that they have a role to play as far as activism because they think it's that important. And I think if they think, for example, if they think Biden versus Trump, there are people in mainstream media that are definitely part of the Biden team. They're going to do anything they can possibly do at this point to make sure Trump is not reelected.
I think the level of faction in this country is very unhealthy. I think you go back similarly to times when empires are not doing well, like Rome and others, and the internal faction, they hate each other more than they hate the barbarians that are going to conquer them and take them down, and that's very dangerous.
But they don't deny it, and you saw a couple years ago said it's no longer part of the journalistic sort of mantra that I need to be. This guy's so bad that all bets are off, and we need to do what we can.
I was really disappointed to see people like Nancy Pelosi going along with the fake bloodbath.
That's unbelievable.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
With AI, which one of these are the right ones? How do you give us like a user's guide or an investor's guide to which of these is any good, or do we not know yet and you have to bet on all of them?
So, the way I would play AI right now is it's a productivity question. So what the real question is, how do you apply AI to increase productivity in the economy? And there's lots of areas. You see Ramp here in New York City. You see all sorts of other companies applying it, obviously Palantir, to basically raise productivity of services. So the question is not so much which part of the infrastructure matters. To me, the question that we actually bet on today is going in industries. How do you make this billing process we're spending $200 billion on 4 times as efficient, right? So there's all these parts of the economy. You can pull out hundreds of billions of dollars of waste thanks to AI productivity. And I think that's the way you want to play it right now.
Can we talk quickly about DEI and the woke mind virus? Did you want to do that? I saw it in the notes. Do you mind?
Sure.
I mean, is it I've seen it called almost a secular religion at this point.
There's a challenge in America right now where are things going to be based on competence and merit, or are they going to be based on something else? I think when you don't have accountability, you don't have competence at the forefront, you start focusing on virtue signaling in other ways, and this is one of the ways in which you can get around merit, in which you can break things. And I think people are realizing it. I think people are speaking against it. There's still going to be a long, hard battle to push back towards merit in lots of parts of our society.
Don't you think after the October 7th and what we saw, Houston, we have a problem in our higher institutions.
Yeah,
Do we not? I think a major problem.
A lot of people are aware of this problem in a way they weren't before. It's going to take courage and boldness to go in, eliminate it. I think what Ben Sass did at University of Florida, actually just firing a lot of people who shouldn't have been there in the first place, is the right thing.
Ben Sass. I mean, if you lose Ben Sass,
yeah,
right? I mean, if that's the guy that's going to come in, I don't know.
I think rational, moderate people are realizing we have to go in and we have to eliminate a lot of these positions that are not adding any value at all. I think they're a ZERP phenomenon. And you're going to see a lot of merit coming back, and that's going to be a fight that we have to fight and stand up and do.